Well, now I've got a partner, so it's every even months. But I've always been around.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Please stand and join us in singing "Here Comes the Sun." Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun. I say it's all right. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, I say it's all right. Little darling, I see the ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, I say it's all right. Sun, 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 here it comes. 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 Little darling, I see the ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been clear. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, I say it's all right. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, I say it's all right. It's all right.
Good morning and welcome to Unity of Walnut Creek. I am CL, and it is my pleasure and honor to be here and welcome you. Let's all take a moment to check our cell phones to be sure they are completely off. Thank you. Please join me in waving hello to our friends at home. Your presence adds to our spiritual community, and we do appreciate you. And we are blessed to have as our musicians today Heart Dream, and their CDs are available on the patio after the service. Please join me in welcoming our special guest, Greg Lavoie. Greg is the author of the highly regarded book, Callings, Finding and Following an Authentic Life. Greg has keynoted and presented workshops at the Smithsonian Institute, the Environmental Protection Agency, many universities, Unity International, and the Esalen Institute. He's been a frequent guest of the media, including ABC TV, CNN, NPR, and PBS. His dynamic and humorous hands-on workshop will take a creative approach to the challenges of listening and responding to your calling starting at 2 p.m. this afternoon. His books are available in the book center, and he would love to sign one for you. Okay, let's take a moment and open our service by focusing our intention through our opening affirmation. Please join me in prayerfully and powerfully speaking it together 3 times. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. And again, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. And one more time, please. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. And let's continue by reading aloud the statement of our unity. God's love is within each of us, guiding us to dynamically express our wholeness, wisdom, and abundance. We acknowledge the universal wisdom in the Christ teachings and in all spiritual paths. I now choose to open to the presence of divine love and to be changed at death. Throughout this sacred time, God is uplifting me, and through my heart, the world. And our heart minister, Mike, will read from today's daily word.
Today's word is prosperity. With gratitude, I consider what truly enriches me, my inner spirit, a gift from God that can never be taken away. No trend, circumstance, life change, or even death can touch it. The gift of my divine spirit is beyond anything money, position, or possessions may offer. With God as the source of my unlimited good, I am fulfilled. No matter what is happening in the outer world, I am centered within. When truth guides my decisions, my spiritual nature shines forth. With wisdom and understanding, I pursue what brings out the best in me and others. Eager to give and receive fully and freely from Spirit within me, I live with courage and conviction. From Galatians, if you sow to the Spirit, you will reap eternal life from the Spirit. And our affirmation for today, I am enriched by the gifts of Spirit. Would you say that with me? I am enriched by the gifts of Spirit. And another time, I am enriched by the gifts of Spirit.
Please remain seated and join us in singing, I Am So Blessed.
I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed. We are so blessed, we are so blessed, we are so grateful for all that we have. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful for all that we have. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful. We are so blessed. We are so grateful. We are so blessed.
Thank you. I am going to highlight a few of our upcoming events. The details of these and other wonderful activities can be found in your bulletin and on our website. Unity Center spiritual learning classes began on March 19th. Once again, our curriculum committee has selected outstanding classes for you to choose from. Our second monthly wave service takes place Wednesday at 7 p.m. For a hip, trendy service with music by award-winning IMFA somebody or other. I don't know. Nobody bothered to tell me how to pronounce it, so we'll just let it be. Topic for the service is what's up with that? All right. So, if you are here with us for the first time, we invite you to raise your hand so that we can acknowledge you and welcome you. We do have quite a few. Wonderful. So keep your hands up in the air while our ushers bring you a gift of a shell lei. And on that lei is an affirmation that we share with each of you that says, just as God has a design for every shell of the sea, so God has a design for your life. And we have a blessing for you that you'll see on the monitors. Please join us in opening our arms. And blessings from our heart, we affirm together, we love you, we bless you, and we behold the light of God shining through you. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Now let's take a moment to greet those sitting around you.
Is filled with love for you. My heart is filled with love for you. My heart is filled with love for you. My heart is filled with love for you. Please join us. My heart is filled with love for you. My heart is filled with love for you. My heart is filled with love for you. My heart with love for you. My heart is filled with love for you. My heart is filled with love for you. My heart is filled with love for you. With love for you. With love for you.
I would like to invite the Reverend Susan Galvin to the platform to lead our meditation. And we invite you to prepare for our time of prayer and meditation, which we will begin through music.
Peace be still. 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 Peace be
I invite you to join me this morning as we take a journey into the experience of being the embodiment of love. of that divine love that flows through every moment of life and of being. And I'd like to begin our journey by inviting you to bring into your heart, into your awareness, your very own body. As we begin, think back to a time in your life where there was a precious life that you cherished. It could be a puppy, a kitten, your own child, a beloved, a grandparent, but someone or something that evoked in you that cherishing love. It was warm, protective, and just filled with delight at the object of your affections. So take a moment now and let those feelings come alive in you as you return to that cherished relationship where love flowed spontaneously into the moment. Let yourself fill with those feelings as we bring our own bodies into our hearts. Your body is your most faithful servant. It has been with you with every breath. It has accompanied you through all of your life experiences. It serves you as best it can. Remember, the body itself is innocent. It has no agenda. It has no opinions or attitudes. It simply responds to who you are and what you bring. And so I invite you to cherish this body that serves you so well. From running and playing as a child to where you are now, enfold it in that warm and protective love. Appreciate all that it gives and all that it provides for your life. And now bring into your heart your mind. That busy, 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 busy servant that seeks to help you find the best path possible through this life's journey. Always trying to advise you, warn you, inform you, seeking plans and projects and information and people that will serve you, that will make your life unfold in the way that you yearn for it to go. And yes, it's overbearing and annoying and noisy, but it is just doing its best to give you a life worth living. And so I invite you to unfold your mind this morning with that love, that cherishing love. And invite it to just relax and let go and let it be. And the next step of our journey is into our emotions. And these are the colors of your life, the colors that illustrate and vivify every moment as your life story unfolds upon the canvas of your soul. It is through our emotions that we know we're alive, from the darkest to the brightest, from the most brilliant to the dullest. Together, they create the beauty that we are as we move from moment to moment. They lift us, they bring us down with joy, with sorrow, with agony, with ecstasy, and every color in between. And so I invite you this morning to embrace your emotions with love, to cherish them, to protect them, and to appreciate the richness that they provide in every day, every experience of your life. Now bring that cherishing love to yourself, to your whole story of this life's journey, your unique identity, your unique being. No one has ever taken your journey before. No one ever will again. It is unique and singular for you. And you know in this moment that you've been led into every experience that you needed to grow into the light, to open your heart, to find your way, to unfold your soul. And so cherish this life, this story, this path that you've been given, this self that you have always been and are still becoming. Embrace it. Cradle it in your heart, for it is a divine and beautiful gift. And finally, let that presence of cherishing love, that delight in being, radiate through your heart and into your loved ones, your communities, your world. Knowing that that light is reflected back to you and beholds you with awe in every moment. And now letting all that go, take the final step that the psalmist invites us to take. Be still and know I am God. There is only one unfolding presence. Be still and know. Be still. Divine love flows through my heart, enfolding and blessing the world. Join me. Divine love flows through my heart, enfolding and blessing the world. And again, divine love flows through my heart, enfolding and blessing the world. And one more time. Divine love flows through my heart, enfolding and blessing the world. And so it is.
Peace
Peace be still. Peace be still. Peace be still. Peace be still.
Dawn is breaking, noontime is over, a breeze is blowing through my heart. Circle of hands reach to the sky. Wings of love cascade down. We are dancing in the light. With new wings we take flight. We are dancing
To be free, to be free.
in God, sharing His name, infinite wings of peace. Love overflowing, dreams unveiled, connected to His heart. We are dancing in the light. With new wings we take flight. We are
Dancing to be free, to be free. to be free, to be free.
We are dancing, we are dancing. We are dancing, we are dancing. We are dancing, we are dancing in the light of God. We all know we are dancing to be free, to be
Thank you, guys. Well, good morning. That was lovely, you guys. Really. All right, I'm going to jump right in. When I was back in my 20s, I worked as a reporter for the Cincinnati Enquirer. And one of my favorite stories that I wrote in all the years that I was there was a story about the circus coming to town. This is Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. And they came in on a train, and I went down to meet them and do a story on it. And in a fit of journalistic zeal, and therefore short-sightedness, I let the animal trainer of Ringling Brothers convince me that riding bareback on an elephant at the head of the Barnum and Bailey Circus parade would add color to my story. The only way to get up on the elephant, it turns out, is to use a ladder. And the only way to stay up there during the parade was to hang onto the elephant's ears. Okay? So those of you who have ridden bareback on elephants, you probably know about this already, but elephant ears have a very unpleasant habit of flapping a lot, especially when they're hot. And we're talking elephant ear flaps, you know. This is not, you know, kitty cat twitches or anything. So the only way to stay up there during the parade is to remain extremely flappable, okay? Otherwise, I'd have been thrown, and it was 12 or 15 feet to the ground, all right? A concern that, to be honest, paled in comparison to my concern about how stupid I looked up there. Honestly, because, you know, for one thing, I'm wearing my business clothes. You know, the animal trainer sprung this bright idea at the last second. So I'm wearing my business clothes. I'm up on this elephant, hanging desperately onto his ears, and my pants scrunched up above my knees, okay, with the black socks. It was just a fashion tragedy. And you have to picture, I'm the first thing anybody saw in that parade, you know? And I'm pretty sure I did not capture the theme of the show. You know, Ringling Brothers, the greatest show on earth. Pretty sure I captured another one of P.T. Barnum's. You know, his famous comment that there's a sucker born every minute. Pretty sure I captured that one. Up there, playing dances with elephants. Anyway, so in looking back on that experience and on what I've learned since then about what is involved in following a calling, all right, that experience actually has a lot in common with the experience of following a call, in that I was caught by surprise and carried off by something much bigger than me, in that it was nerve-wracking and thrilling simultaneously, and in that the elephant couldn't have cared less. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I've discovered a very unsettling truth. My soul doesn't seem to care what price I have to pay to follow my calls. I hate this. This seems like a design flaw to me, frankly. But, my happiness, my security, my popularity, it doesn't seem to matter to it. It's not interested in making me rich or famous, not interested in whether I live a comfortable life, not even interested in whether people like me or not. However, what does seem to matter is hanging onto the elephant. That does seem to matter. The willingness to go for the ride. The big ride, you know what I'm saying? The one that ensures that someday if your life happens to be flashing in front of your eyes, at the very least, it's going to hold your interest. You know what I'm saying? At the very least, that much. All right? So, the rub, of course, is that there isn't, that hanging onto the elephant creates a bit of turmoil in your life. Okay? And there's not just one elephant in there. I'm sure some of you have had this experience. There are many callings. And in many different arenas. There's vocational calls, the work-related calls. But there's also relationship calls, right? There are moral calls, service calls, spiritual calls, the ones you got when you were 20. Aren't they really different than the ones you're getting at 50? Right? Different than the ones you get at 70? In other words, there's a developmental aspect to them. In fact, I think that the great vocational question is not what should I do with my life. It's not what do I want to be when I grow up. It's not what major should I declare. I think the great vocational question is who am I? Right? Who am I? What is my true nature as distinct from everybody else's? The furry warmth of the herd. So in other words, there's this developmental piece, and the calls change as we do. They change as we do. All right? So, and I've seen this happen. You can sit around waiting and waiting and waiting for half your life for the great big calling. You know what I'm saying? The burning bush, right? And miss all the smaller calls that are right at your feet. And these are like the fire drills, in my opinion, for the bigger ones. All right? Wallace Stevens, the poet Wallace Stevens once said, I don't ask for the full ringing of the bell. I don't ask for a clap of thunder. A scrawny cry will do. And I love that, because I really think that's the beating heart of the discernment process, is listening for the scrawny cries. Because they come in a very impressive variety of forms, and I think it pays to sort of post sentries at the various gates to get them as they're coming through. Because calls come as passions and gifts and intuitions and dreams. All of the religions of the world seem to agree on this, that dreams are one of the primary channels through which the gods and the goddesses speak to the mortals. You know what I'm saying? And we're sleeping through it most of the time. You know what I'm saying? Calls come through things like conversations you overhear in like a restaurant or something that seems like it was spoken to you somehow or addressed to something you've been asking the universe the last couple of years, right? First time I ever noticed this in my own life was I was about to make an impulsive career decision. And for a couple of weeks, right around that period of time, I kept hearing in my head one line from The Wizard of Oz. Repeatedly, day and night, if I only had a brain. There's just that one lyric, too. This is needless to say telling me I'm not thinking it through. You know what I'm saying? You ever get a chance to read Ann Tyler? She wrote The Accidental Tourist and a bunch of other. She's a brilliant observer of relationships between partners. And she says, I can always tell what my husband is really thinking by the tunes he absent-mindedly hums in the car. So, gentlemen, take note. Callings come through things like a decision that needs to be made in your life now. Not backburnered for another 6 months or another year or another decade. You know what I'm saying? This is some issue that's hanging over your head, waiting for resolution. All right? Calls come through wherever there's friction in your life. All right? Wherever there's friction. Because it's like in the natural world. Friction occurs where changes are taking place or trying to take place. Right? So in the human realm, it would be, where does walk not quite match talk? Where does head constantly argue with heart? Where do you constantly fight with people? What are you fighting about? What are you fighting for? You know what I'm saying? Calls come through the patterns that establish themselves in your life, certainly by this point in the game for many of us. You know, certain patterns, you've worn a footpath to and from some dynamic, some drama, some issue in your life, right? Lesson you've endlessly had to learn. Kind of mistake you continually make, kind of partner you always attract, getting fired again. You know what I'm saying? So there's certain patterns. Section of the bookstore you always walk into first when you walk into a bookstore. You know what I'm saying? What is that about? Is there anything to that? All right? Calls definitely come through the body. I've got a whole chapter in the Callings book called The Language of the Body, because the word symptom means a sign. Etymologically, the word means a sign of what? The word pathology means the logic of pain. What's the logic? Right? There's a guy that I interviewed for that chapter. His name is Arnold Mindell. He's a psychologist who started something called process-oriented psychology. He said, symptoms are usually dreams trying to come true. Now that's a provocative idea, isn't it? Symptoms are usually dreams trying to come true. Interesting. The most visceral example of which happened back in my 30s. I was doing a presentation at a writers' conference in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and a woman came up to me after my presentation. I'm out in the lobby, chatting with people, signing books, that kind of thing. This woman comes up to me, complete stranger, and says one of those things that people won't typically say to you unless they're pretty sure they're never going to see you again. She said, hey, you know why I'm so fat? Not a question you're supposed to answer. Pretty sure of that much. She said, it's because I have so many stories inside of me I'm not writing down. This is what she said. And I'll tell you, there is no science or philosophy that I'm aware of that could dispute a self-diagnosis delivered with that kind of certainty. You know what I'm saying? The woman knew that her body was trying to tell her something, and she knew exactly what it was. You know, she knew that her symptom, in the sense that it was a sign, meant something, and she knew exactly what it meant. It was the mark of Jonah, if I can use that language. It was the mark of Jonah. It was the testament, the evidence of her flight from a calling. And one, in this case, as she put it, that is literally pushing out from inside of me. Right? Now, whatever channels these signs and these signals come to us through, these scrawny cries, whatever form they come in, I think they're extremely useful to us, certainly in the discernment process, except when they can't get through. Okay? And callings have a rough time getting through to us when they get nothing but busy signals. Okay? This is where the peace be still portion of the show comes in handy, you know, because you need to be quiet enough to hear. You need to take some time out from the onrushing and the empire building and all that to allow the calls to make their way through. So I read a most amazing story in The New Yorker. Okay, this is written by, and it speaks to this issue. This is written by a man who's talking about his three-year-old's imaginary playmate, okay, who's called Charlie Ravioli, right? And I encourage you to Google this, because this is what the story's called, Charlie Ravioli, and it's a heck of a commentary on the culture. And so there's nothing unusual about a 3-year-old having an imaginary playmate, except this one is always too busy to play with her. Okay, so she calls up Charlie Ravioli on her toy cell phone. Turns out there's toy cell phones. Oh, you don't need this part anymore, though. It's the digital age. We don't need it. And she's always having to leave him messages. She's leaving him messages. And a month later, her father discovers she's now leaving messages with somebody by the name of Lori. He says, "Honey, who's Lori?" And she explains in her 3-year-old fashion that this is Charlie Ravioli's assistant. This is somebody he has apparently hired to return his phone calls for him. I mean, how pathetic is this? You know? And I'm reading this story and I'm thinking, you know, when our 3-year-old's imaginary playmates are too busy to play with them, and start hiring agents, for crying out loud, to sort of fend off the insistent phone calls of the children who are imagining them to begin with. I'm thinking it's time to move out of New York. I mean, or just rearrange your priorities or something, you know, because the compulsion toward busyness is really what I'm getting at. The compulsion toward busyness is a pretty good definition of workaholism. Right? The experts just call it a process addiction instead of a substance addiction. You know? And it's one of our very, very few socially sanctioned addictions, right? And one of the very few you can put on your resume. You know? You can't do that with most addictions. You know, 1998 to the present, alcoholic. No. You're going to judiciously leave that one off your resume. But you could put workaholic. In fact, one of the cleverest moments of my life was when I was being interviewed for a job at the Cincinnati paper, and they threw this curveball at me. So tell us about some of your shortcomings. And they don't really prepare you for that in these classes on how to be interviewed. But I came up with this. Shortcomings. Well, I tend to take on a little too much work. Which you know they're going to love to hear. And I said I also tend to not give myself enough credit. But you know, so there was this